In this file video, I'm going to deliberately make a couple of mistakes so that we can see what's happening and introduce you to a data type in PHP called the associative array. Hopefully I'll get to that by the end of the video. We'll see how it goes. At the moment, what we've got is this echo here, name John, and when we print it out from the Python, it's down here, it just gives us a name equals John. What I would like to do is be able to pick up whatever was sent on the where are we gone? Whatever was sent on the URL as a variable. Let's put Frosty back in there. I wanted to be able to pick up Frosty and print it out here. At the moment, it's not going to do that for a very good reason, is we just didn't tell it to. The first logical mistake is to think, well, if I got that from there and get the file name, then maybe I could just replace it in here. So I'd have a name value pair with the name and the variable. So I'm going to do that first. So let me copy that and paste it in place of that. Okay, so that's my first attempt. It should be okay. I've got single quotes in there, so that's not going to mess about too much. Or yes, it is, because I've got quotes. I can tell because it's in black. It should be grey. So I'm going to have to change those single quotes for double quotes. There we go. And that's it. That's my first attempt at getting the value from the URL. So let's save that, go back to my Python program and run my Python module. I need to save it because I've made a change. I put Frosty in there. Let's run it. And what we get is, well, it's worked out that there is a name, Frosty, but it hasn't printed Frosty. It's just printed out exactly what I typed in to get the first name. Okay, that's not good. Perhaps if I use a variable instead of this, then I might get the correct result. So let's go back, and instead of that, let's assign that to a variable. So let's say first name as a variable equals, and if I just copy and paste that, I think I've got the last one, there we go. And instead of having this in here, just have the variable first name. Now that seems to make sense. So it's reading whatever is being sent in, Frosty, and it's assigning it to first name, then it's echoing out the name and first name. So that should be fine. Let's try that. Go back to my program and run it, and no, it just printed out first name. So we've got an issue. We cannot get the first name, and we cannot assign it to a value. It's expecting a string. It's quite logical if you look at it, the fact that whatever is between that open quote mark there and the closing quote mark there, it's just going to print it. It's not going to replace the variable. So we need a different method of doing this. And the method that we're going to choose is an array. And it's called an associative array. An associative array, let me just take a look at another file and see if I can show you. Normally arrays work like this. The first element is J, the first element is K, the second element or third element is L, the next element is M, and so on. So that is an array or a table or whatever you want to call it at the moment, which if I chose the array element number 2, I would get the value L. What an associative array is instead of using numbers down here to work things out, it actually uses words. So first, last, next, whatever. So it uses words to find the value. So if I wanted to get k, I would need to say the array value at last, and it would return k. That is called an associative array. So it uses words. And I'm going to build an associative array to help me manage my items here. Now in PHP, an array is a variable. I'm just going to call it ARR for array. I'm not going to use the entire word. That could cause problems. Equals, now it's like a list in Python, so we have square brackets, and obviously we need the semicolon at the end of the line. And the way that we manage these is by having the name value pairs, as we did with this, but instead of a colon we use a sort of equal greater than sign. It points to, so whoops, that would now give me an array of one element with name is equal to John. The nice thing about this is that I can actually use variables in place of that. Okay, so I don't need to use a string, I can use a variable. So if I sort of cut that from there and place it after where I get the variable from the address bar, I can change that into the variable first name. So that's good. I've now got an array consisting of one element. Name is first name. However, I can't use this anymore. I can't use that, and that's really what I want. I don't want to have to keep writing these out between the curly braces anyway. I need a different method, and there's a special function in PHP called JSON encode. So if I just type it, so echo JSON underscore encode, and in the brackets, if I put my array in there, my array variable, that should fix the problem. That means that whatever is printed on the or sent in on the first line, the first name, is going to be stored in the variable first name. Then it's going to be linked to an associative array for name, and then it's going to encode it and throw it out. Basically, what it's going to do is replace that with a colon and that with the word Frosty. Hopefully that made some sense. Let's see it in action. Let's see if it works. So I'm going to save that file, go back to my handler and run that program, and there we go. So this time I've actually got the key value pair, name and Frosty. The thing is with the array is if I need more elements, I can just separate them with a comma. So if I did that, name, and I'm not going to get anything from the URL, I'm just going to type it in John. If I could spell John, it would be good. Save that, and I'm going to rerun my module, and there we go. So this time I've got name equals John, so it's encoded it, but it didn't encode the Frosty piece. We can see that if I close down the shell and rerun this program, it will only give me the one value back. There we go. So we've got one or two things to sort out, one or two issues to play with. and some explanation, particularly this. If you can remember when I said it was an associative array, all the elements, all the keys need to be unique, and these are not unique. These are both the same value, name. So what happened was when it encoded it, it looked along here and it encoded name equals Frosty. I was happy with that. And then it overwrote with another name the value John. If I change that, let me name 1, which is different to this, let's see what happens. So I'm going back to my program, I'll run that. There we go, and we get both items back. So now we've got name and name 1, but if you remember from all the code that we saw, actually there were duplicates, and we need to know how to make those work. So, but that will be for a future lesson. At the moment, we're okay. The only thing we haven't tested at the moment is what happens if I don't pass a value in. So if I now choose to run the module, save it first, silly me, and then run the module, I'm expecting, and you should expect now, for it to say error, no data. And it does. So we're beginning to get what we need as a program to parse and write JSON data out back to a program so that the program can manipulate this data. In the next video, I'm going to take a look at this word empty and another value called isSet. I did intend to do it on this video, but I'm running out of time, so I'll cover that in the next lesson.